opportunity to assemble in this place. We pray for our leaders and elected officials, Mayor Dyer and Commissioners Gray, Ortiz, Stewart, Sheehan, Hill, and Ings, who are in positions to govern this great city. Now, God, as they prepare to conduct the business at hand, may the decisions that are made be guided by the spirit of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and justice for the well-being of all people. May your powerful hedge of protection be around us to lead us into all truths. And Lord, may the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted in your sight, that your will be done and that you may be glorified. This is my prayer in the name that is above all names, Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please?
Yes. Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart? Commissioner Sheehan? Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Ings?
Here.
Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's take up for consideration the minutes from the budget workshop, agenda review, and city council meetings of July 11th. Motion by Commissioner Hill.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ings. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Commissioner Hill, would you do an introduction of Marvin Bracey Day, please?
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, through your leadership and efforts in 2005, where you saw an area there called Paramore, which needed some nurturing love and investment. You saw where there was high crime and high pregnancy and many of the ills that poverty bring, and you decided to do something about it. You decided to go in and create the Paramore Kids Zone, where it was modeled after many of your staff and my predecessor and the CRA, Thomas Chapman went up to Harlem along with Lisa Early to view a model that was working in Harlem, called the Harlem Kids Zone, I believe. And you decided to implement it right here in the city of Orlando, in which it was a model for cradle to career, where it would be wraparound services for parents and for youth. And as you implemented that program, we fast forward to today. We're out of the ashes, became a phoenix. The very thing that you hoped for happened, where children start to thrive, families start to thrive. Even just last year, where 30 seniors in the PKZ zone, all 30 went to college. So today, we celebrate Marvin Bracey. He was one of the first kids there in 2005 that was part of the Paramore Kids Zone. And I'm proud to say, Mayor, because of that cradle to career, which is also a part of the other new initiative that you set forth with Rodney Williams called My Brother's Keeper. He is also a part of My Brother's Keeper. He's a shining star in this community, and especially to the youth and his fellow brothers and sisters there that started out there at Paramore Kids Zone, Marvin Bracey. So he is now a qualifier to go to Rio for the Olympics Summer Games. So I'll bring up Brenda March and Rodney Williams to tell you more.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commissioners. What a beautiful day in the city of Orlando. It is a distinct pleasure to recognize Paramore Kids Zone and Recreation Division's superstar, Marvin Bracey. Marvin played on the city's youth tackle football league's PKZ Bears team in the day. You remember that, Mayor? The Bears. He graduated from Boone High School in 2012 and was on the 2012 Under Armour All-American High School football team. He also set the Class 4A championship fastest time in the state history. 100 meters, record at 9.98 seconds. After high school graduation, Marvin received a scholarship and played as a former American football wide receiver for the Florida State Seminoles. He left the Seminole football team just prior to his 2013 national championship season to pursue a professional career in track. What's more impressive is that Marvin's sponsor is Adidas and is a true champion. 2011 United States Track and Field Junior Outdoors 100 meters champion, 10.05 seconds. And 2014 United States Track and Field Indoor 60 meters champion, 6.48 seconds. He is also a competitive sprinter with personal records of 9.93 seconds in the 100 meters and 6.48 seconds in the 60 meters. He has won 3 straight U.S. national track championships, 60 meters in 2014 through 2016. Marvin recently came in third in the 100 meters at 9.98 seconds, the 2016 Olympic trials qualifying for the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. In his own words, he was quoted, "I was really confident," that's when he competed. "I knew that all of us guys were on a level playing field and that it could go either way. I had to execute my race to make the team. I said, give it what you've got for this last hoorah and leave it all out on the line. I told myself that somebody is going to be disappointed, but whatever happens, give it your best. My best made this team. I can't thank God enough for that." Those are Marvin's words. Marvin continues to do his best and thrives on and off the track. He serves as a positive role model for youth in Paramore to encourage them to pursue their dreams. All eyes will be watching Orlando's hometown hero, superstar Marvin Bracey, compete in Rio as he brings home for us the gold. We believe that. Thank you so much.
So now I'll read the proclamation where we will honor Marvin. Whereas, I am honored to extend my heartfelt congratulations and excitement to former PKZ participant and former Florida State football player and track and field standout Marvin Bracey on his accomplishment of qualifying for the 2016 Rio Olympics in the men's 100-meter race. And whereas Marvin was born on December 15, 1993 in Orlando, Florida, in the Paramore community, was educated within the Orange County public school system, attended William Boone High School, played wide receiver. The Orlando Sentinel ranked Marvin as the number 6 prospect from Central Florida in the class of 2012. Whereas by October 10th, he received at least 6 scholarship offers, including Florida State, University of Miami. In July 2011, Marvin committed to Florida State University for football and track. Whereas former Boone Prep Marvin Bracey gave up football at FSU in 2013 to run track professionally, qualified for the Olympics with a 3rd place finish in the 100-meter dash at the U.S. Trials in Eugene, Oregon, with a clock time of 9.98 seconds. And he's now headed to the Olympic Games in Rio, Brazil. And whereas such hard work, dedication, devotion, and focus by Marvin is truly honorable and is worth recognition. So now, therefore, I, Regina Hill, and Mayor Buddy Dyer, on behalf of the residents of the city of Orlando, extend blessings and congratulations to Marvin Bracey. And we do proclaim Monday, July 25th, 2016 as Marvin Bracey Day here in the city of Orlando. And the mayor has something that he gives distinguished gentlemen that he had custom made for those that are honorable and distinguished. And Marvin, the mayor is getting ready to present you with his personalized cufflinks. So you know wherever you go in life, and you put on your suit, you know that the mayor and this council stand with you and stand for you. Now go get that goal. Council, come down.
Okay, I might let Commissioner Hill read more of the proclamations. Let's go to the mayor's update. I want to announce that we're going to have two One Orlando Fund town hall meetings. They're both going to be on Thursday, August the 4th at the Amway Center, and it'll be an opportunity for victims, families, and the community to provide input on the process that's been outlined by our fund administrator, Ken Feinberg. The meetings will be at 12:30 and at 6:30 at the Amway Center, and will be simulcast in Spanish, and we are working very diligently to be able to have the funds distributed by October the 1st, and to date, I want to announce that we're over $20 million raised into the One Orlando Fund, and you can still give. Go to oneorlando.org if you want to contribute. The one item I want to mention that is on the consent agenda is the INVEST grant, and the Orlando City Council has approved a grant of $100,000 from the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence to help fund our domestic violence response team. OPD was one of the first to have a domestic violence response team. It's a model program. It consists of OPD having a domestic violence detective and crime analyst that is focused on holding accountable those offenders and making sure that a domestic violence incident doesn't rise to a higher level. So it has been an extremely successful partnership with Harbor House and OPD. I have one other announcement. So hearings ordinances, second reading number 2 is an annexation related to about 11 acres of land located near the intersection of Turkey Lake and Sand Lake Road. Is it Majorca or Mallorca? Mallorca. And that is in our District 6. And Commissioner Boyd, who is here, you want to raise your hand, Commissioner Boyd?
Where is he?
Has asked that he's requested that we defer the adoption of this ordinance for 30 days to give county staff, city staff, and the developer an opportunity to work out some issues related to the annexation and the proposed development. County staff and our staff believe 30 days should be enough time to sort that out. And because we have already advertised the second reading and hearing of the ordinances, we need to make a motion to actually defer the item to a date certain. So I would ask for a motion to defer the hearing and final consideration of this ordinance to August the 29th. Is there such a motion, Commissioner Ings?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Ings, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so the item is deferred. Thank you, Commissioner Boyd. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is a number of items that are acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our commissioners an opportunity to comment on the consent agenda and/or update you on significant happenings in their districts. We rotate the order that we do that. Today, we're going to begin with Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple things on the agenda today. On item B2, that is a parking agreement with Wade Park for the Timucua White House. Again, this is a great cultural facility that's in my district in a residential area, and I think this agreement will codify it and make it work for all parties. So I want to thank planning staff for working so well with us on that. Item B8, B9, and B10 are the millage rates, no increase. You know, we never get credit when we don't raise taxes, but I want to thank the staff for doing a great job in keeping the millage rate steady. And on item C3 of the Municipal Planning Board, chickens. Yes, this is the citywide ordinance to finally have chickens citywide up to 100 households. And again, this has been a great slow food movement, sustainability initiative. Has not created any problems with the 50 that we have. So I'm hoping by opening up citywide to 100 residents, more people can experience the joys of backyard chickening, including myself. I'm going to continue doing it, but it's just been a great program and really enjoy that. I want to thank the planning staff, especially Jason Burton, who's become our chicken man. So thanks, Jason, for that. And it's a good program. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, since the budget was kind of low-key, the chickens thing might be the headline for tomorrow.
Our feathered friends, indeed. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing on the consent outside of, I'm just excited about some of the CDBG grants that are going throughout District 5 that I'll give my community a update on some of the funding that was received. So I thank the Housing Department. We do, with the partnership of Orlando City Soccer, Steps in the Right Direction, Majestic Life, Coca-Cola, Orlando Magic, and Levy Restaurants. On August the 6th, we will be having our back-to-school celebration. We will have OCPS and many vendors that will have information for parents and for kids. We'll be having a mini soccer clinic, a basketball and golf clinic, a health and wellness information. But overall, in A1 Orange, a community stakeholder here in the West Park near Camp World Stadium, where we will be supplying kids with tennis shoes with the partnership of Adidas and book bags for over 1,000 kids. But the tennis shoes, it won't be 1,000, it'll probably be about 500. So you would need, if anyone's listening or can take the information back, parents and guardians have to be present, and the student, in order to receive the shoe and underwear and sock giveaway, they will need school ID and school report cards, and they must be 5 to 18 years old. So I'm excited about that. Kids getting a step in the right direction and going back to school properly supplied. Also, Orlando City Soccer and myself will be having a job fair on Monday, August the 8th, 2016, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Callahan Community Center. As you know, they've gone vertical with most of the steel, and now they're ramping up for some of the interior and trade jobs when we're talking about drywall, HVAC, plumbing, metal panels, and painting. And that's with partnership with the Blueprint, but that will be at 101 North Paramore Avenue. Again, the job fair with Orlando City Soccer. We're asking all tradesmen that are in drywall, HVAC, plumbing, and metal panels and painting to come out from 6 to 8 p.m. Orlando City Soccer is committed and to making sure that those in Paramore and in the city of Orlando get jobs and keep the jobs local here in the city. So please come out. That is Monday, August the 8th, 2016. On September, well, I'll mention that at the next council. That is in September. And that's all I have. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Ings?
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. This past Thursday, July 14th, I was presented a check for $10,000 by Eric Genrich and Deborah Rios Barnes from the CenturyLink Corporation at their headquarters in Apopka, Florida. And this was for the One Orlando Fund. And that check has been submitted to the One Orlando Fund as well. And then also on that same Thursday, I attended a farewell celebration for Captain Maxine Reyes. And Mayor, you may remember her. She sang the national anthem for us at the start of the 2015 Veterans Parade. She is of the U.S. Army. She had a change of command ceremony, and she's leaving Orlando and going to Texas. So I presented a proclamation from the city of Orlando to her at a dinner. Also that Thursday, I brought greetings and read a proclamation at the 45th Southern Regional Conference of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and that was held at the Gaylord Palms Resort and Convention Center. And on Wednesday, July 20th through 22nd, I attended the National Black Caucus of Local Elected Officials 2016 Summer Conference that was held in Columbus, Ohio. Commissioner Hill was also there. And as chaplain of NBC Leo, I provided the invocation for several of our lunch meetings and business meetings while attending this conference. Upcoming events tomorrow morning, all is invited to come out to 3516 President Barack Obama Parkway. Ronaldo Soccer Academy will have its groundbreaking ceremony, and Luis Martins will be there along with his brother. They are the developers for the Ronaldo Soccer Academy, and it looks like a very good project for the city and also for the district. Also coming up Thursday, August the 4th, is the Red Tie Celebrity Golf Pre-Party, and that's going to be held at Harry Buffalo, right there at Orlando, Florida, downtown at 129 West Church Street. Walter Hawkins, you're welcome to be there. I hear that you are a party animal, so we look to see you there representing the Downtown Development Board. So everybody should come out. There's a $10 door fee, but Walter, you know, you can get in on me, so you won't have to worry about that. And then Friday, August 25th, is the 6th annual Red Tie Celebrity Golf Extravaganza, and that's going to be held at the Hawks Landing Golf Club at the Orlando World Center Marriott Resort, 8701 World Center Drive in Orlando, Florida. And I would just like to announce that our Red Tie signature sponsor is Universal Studios, and that's the highest sponsorship that we have in that category. So Universal Studios, thank you again. You've been a real contributor to the Red Tie Celebrity Golf Extravaganza event ever since its inception. So thank you so very much. And then Saturday, August the 13th, the District 6 Annual Crime Prevention Walk and Back to School Book Bag Giveaway will take place. We'll muster at the Washington Shore Shopping Center about 8 o'clock, and the march will start at 9 a.m. And we will go from the Washington Shore Shopping Center to Frontline Outreach Center there at 3000 C.R. Smith Street. And this is an effort to obviously support our youth and the families and helping them to be equipped for the back to school. And then after a week after they actually start school, we'll have a District 6 Fun Day at Fun Spot in Orlando. So all of those kids that participated in the walk, along with their parents, will have a free day at Fun Spot, sponsored by District 6 Commissioner Samuel B. Ings, and they will also be provided a lunch at that event as well. So please come out and join us, and we look to have a great time. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner, and we'll move to District 1, Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing for me to comment on the consent agenda. We have some ordinances. We'll save it for that. Is Commissioner Ortiz going to comment?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, not
withhold my
really,
motion.
but,
Go right ahead, sir.
Mayor,
You're up, Commissioner Ortiz.
thank you. I'll reserve my comments for next city council, and with that, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, so everybody that's here for the consent agenda, if you want to escape, you can do so right now.
Hey, Jackie, that includes
You ready?
Getting there.
you. Yeah.
Take all the room you want.
You gotta be careful now. Things you say.
Okay, without objection, we're going to recess the city council meeting, and we're going to call to order the Neighborhood Improvement District Board of Directors. There's one item of business, which is the proposed 2016-17 Downtown South Neighborhood Improvement District millage rate of 1.0000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We will adjourn without objection the Neighborhood Improvement District meeting, reconvene the City Council meeting. And Madam Clerk, you're going to have a somewhat lengthy day.
Yes, sir.
So let's start with hearings, ordinances, first reading. Number 1.
Ordinance 2016-43, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, admitting to the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use designation from residential low-intensity, office low-intensity neighborhood activity center, public recreational, institutional, community activity center, and conservation to office low-intensity neighborhood activity center and conservation for approximately 1,572 acres of land, further amending the growth management plan to amend sub-area policy S.39.3 to provide a maximum development program and certain development policies for the same land, such land being generally located south of Lee Vista Boulevard, west of State Road 417, north of State Road 528, and east of Narcoossee Road, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Now that it's on the table, I'm going to ask for, well, I'm just going to defer it till after the quasi-judicial hearing. I think that the order of things, we probably ought to do the quasi-judicial and then come back to the ordinance. Okay, so we'll just defer that, leave it open. Hearings, ordinances, second reading, number 1.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and banning segments of Michigan Avenue, Ohio Street, and Harmon Avenue, each segment being at or near the Calvary Assembly of God Church, generally located north of Dartmouth Avenue, east of Interstate 4, south of Minnesota Avenue, and west of Clay Street, and together comprised of approximately 1.6 acres of land, more or less, providing for the execution of affecting documents, severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Ings. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, we have already deferred number 2 to August the 29th, so let's move on to number 3.
Ordinance 2016-52, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to microbreweries, craft distilleries, micro wineries, and brew pubs, amending Section 58.913 Orlando City Code, creating specific accessory service use standards for microbreweries, craft distilleries, micro wineries, and brew pubs, amending Chapter 66 Orlando City Code definitions, providing legislative findings, and for severability, codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. You can speak at general appearance. The number 4, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located north of East South Street, east of South Eola Drive, south of East Jackson Street, and west of South Summerlin Avenue, comprised of 1.89 acres of land, more or less, from residential high intensity in part and residential medium intensity in part into public, recreational, and institutional. Further amending the growth management plan to amend sub-area policy S.7.4, changing the property zoning designation from the holding district within the traditional city and aircraft noise overlay districts to the public use district with the traditional city and aircraft noise overlay districts, providing amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is anyone from the public like to discuss this? Commissioners, Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank the commissioners. Now Constitution Green is officially a city park, so thank you very much, commissioners. I think that was a great addition to our city, and I want to thank you for your support on this because it was very important to the public and certainly my constituents, but delighted to see that that tree is going to remain. And thank you for your leadership, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Was that a
Is there a
sneeze or was that an aye?
time delay, Commissioner?
Tell him to speak 5
It's
seconds.
not my fault.
Okay. All right, number 5, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-49, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the Criminal Nuisance Abatement Board, amending Chapter 2, Article 27, Section 21.189 of the Code of the City of Orlando, Florida, providing for severability, codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ing, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Number 6.
Ordinance 2016-50, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to registration and false alarms, amending Chapter 41, Article 1, Section 41.02, amending Chapter 41, Article 2, Sections 41.07 and 41.12 of the Code of the City of Orlando, Florida, providing for severability, codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Hill. Anyone from the public like to testify on this one?
There you go.
Discussion among commissioners. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 7, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-58, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to cannabis dispensing facilities, adopting findings of fact, providing definitions, imposing a temporary moratorium on the opening of any new cannabis dispensing facility, and on the expansion or relocation of any existing cannabis dispensing facility, directing the planning official to recommend land development regulations for cannabis dispensing facilities by a date certain, providing for penalties, severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Mr. James Peterson, you are up. You'll have 5 minutes. Give your name and address. 5 minutes.
So, have we had enough terrorism in Orlando? This Pulse shooting was horrible. Do we need any more terrorism? You want to have a moratorium to stop opening dispensaries, and what you're doing is just terrorizing the community. Meanwhile, you fund drug dealers. Did you know, as of this moment, you have already given $140 million worth of Orange County revenue, $20 million a month to drug dealers, unregulated, tax-free. Why don't you start getting some of that revenue? Okay, you need money. You need to recoup money from the Pulse thing. Now here, let me read you a definition of terrorize. To fill or overpower with terror, terrify. To coerce or intimidate by causing fear. Let's see, to coerce or control by violence, fear, threats. To inspire with dread, terrify. To fill or overcome with terror. To dominate or coerce by intimidation. That's your police department. over pot. And do you know what's amazing too? 2 years ago today, Harrison Carter was killed in his own home, a veteran of 5 tours, African American, look him up, a hero. He's a hero. And you know what? He died in his own home for pot. And Sergeant Regario from OCSO Homicide admitted to me, I'm an independent investigator and also a law student, that it was a controlled delivery. I didn't know pot's not legal for us, but it's legal for the OCSO to bait people with it. That seems like racketeering. And you're all guilty of racketeering. And do you know why our police departments, OCSO and OPD, are worse than ISIS? ISIS doesn't kill people for pot, okay? This has to change. Why do you want to prolong terrorism? How did our police departments become predators? They're supposed to be paid to protect us and to honor our civil rights to personal property and to the enjoyment of life. And Harrison Carter, none of these people for pot can have the right to the enjoyment of life because you violate their civil rights. If that's the case, then Martin Luther King Jr. died for nothing because there's still civil rights violations going on. And I figure you all would definitely want to look into this, the African American commissioners, and say, hey, wait a second, our rights are being messed with here. But no, you're remaining silent, that's conspiracy to commit, okay? I'm a law student. You're all guilty of a violation of U.S. Federal Code 1951. You're interfering with commerce through threats and violence. Robbery through threats and violence is what the police do, and extortion is what the courts do. Isn't that disgusting? It's got to change. This police culture has to change, and I think you should give to the African American community and to everybody else the right to cannabis that God says we can have. My God, is it a fruit or a vegetable? Take a guess. Is it a fruit or a vegetable? Take a guess. I know the answer. I've known it for 7 years. Take a guess. Is it a fruit or a vegetable? Mr. Ings, is it a fruit or a vegetable?
You can
cannabis?
address me, don't address
Okay.
individual commissioners.
All right. So anyway, what is it, a fruit or a vegetable? Take a guess.
Just tell us.
You don't know why. Why don't you want to guess?
Just tell us. You're going to use up.
It's a fruit and a vegetable. So you're busting people and terrorizing people and extorting money from people and kidnapping people and sexually molesting people over pot, a fruit vegetable that you don't want to sell. You know, I went around to all the liquor stores and I said, hey, I want to fill my car with vodka, cases of vodka. I'm going to drink myself to death. Will you help me? Yeah. How many cases you want? No limit. I went to stores and said, in Orange County here, how many cartons of cigarettes can I buy? Oh, there's no limit. Go. You want to buy 100 cartons of cigarettes? Bring the truck by. We'll fill it right up. But then when I mention marijuana, oh no, don't mention that here. We're afraid of the cops. We're afraid of losing our licenses. That is coercion and controlled by violence, fear, and threats. These people are all afraid of something that's a fruit vegetable that should be sold, and shame on you all for all the terror you've done so far. And last year, for 2015, you gave away $240 million worth of good revenue, that honest revenue that you could have had. You gave it away to drug dealers, tax-free, while you terrorized everybody for pot. And let me tell you one more thing, which is sickening, and I have to do a Michael Moore video on this one. I played on 37 West Pine the other day at the back booth. You know, I'm a hip-hop drummer. Thank you so much. And people kept coming up, hey, what, you got there, drums? I said, yeah, tell me about the marijuana culture in Orlando. And all the little young ladies, 18, 19, 20 years old, said, oh, OPD is searching us all the time for pot. One little beautiful little young lady said, I got searched 3 times last month. Well, did they find anything? No. I said, that's sexual assault. Why don't you get the supervisor next time that happens, and don't leave the area, don't leave the scene, and get the supervisor down here and file a complaint for sexual assault. Why are our cops molesting people? They are podophiles and vetophiles against veterans. That's equal to child molestation. But instead they're molesting veterans for pot. How disgusting could I pay taxes, and this city right here
30 seconds.
What? How much?
30 seconds left.
Okay, well, anyway, all I want to say is, God, I want to say a prayer. I hope every corrupt politician and every corrupt police officer gets a bad rash for the next 2 weeks. And when they get the rash, may they know, conviction from God, that they were wrong and you're breaking the law horribly. Armed robbery. Why are our cops armed robbers
10 seconds.
against people? Armed sexual assault, racketeering, kidnapping. It's shameful. It's just disgusting. You're all a bunch of creeps and disgusting perverts.
What law school are you in?
That's my business.
Okay. Okay, anybody else that wants to speak on this ordinance? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. All right, let's see, we are ordinance first read number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-56, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located west of Narcoossee Road, north of Bipe Lane, and east of South Goldenrod Road, comprised of 8.62 acres of land, more or less, from office low intensity to office medium intensity, changing the property's zoning designation from Office 1 AN to O2 AN, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ings. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-55, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located at the southwest intersection of Park Lake Street and Highland Avenue, comprised of .98 acres of land, more or less, as the planned development district, along with the traditional city overlay on the city's official zoning maps, providing special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning maps, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-57, an ordinance of the City of Orlando granting Environmental One LLC a non-exclusive franchise to provide roll-off container collection and disposal of solid waste within the City of Orlando, outlining franchisees' duties and providing the terms and conditions under which this franchise shall operate, providing for severability and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. There's probably no public testimony on the roll-off franchise. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is a recommended order from the hearing officer in case number QJ 2016-001 relating to the planned development zoning application for Vista Park. The petitioners in the case are Mr. Frank Sebastian, Mr. Ron Camillo, and Mr. John Daly. The applicant is Randy Fitzgerald of the property owner Mockingbird Orlando. Let's begin with some background from our city's planning official, Dean Grandin, then we'll hear from the petitioners and the applicant. Dean?
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. Good morning, good afternoon, I'm sorry. This is the Vista Park PD quasi-judicial hearing. The property is located south of Vista Boulevard, west of State Road 417, north of State Road 528, and east of Narcoossee Road, comprising approximately 1,572 acres. The applicant has proposed the following: to amend the future land use designation to Office Low Intensity Neighborhood Activity Center and Conservation, amend the GMP sub-area policy S.39.3 to allow for the updated development program, and an initial zoning of PDAN to allow for 4,300 residential units, 20,000 square feet of office, and 20,000 square feet of retail use. I'm reminding the council that the petitioners appealed all these applications. The appeal of numbers 1 and 2 was actually heard on February 29th of this year at the City Council meeting, and the City Council upheld the Municipal Planning Board approval recommending these changes to the future land use and to the sub-area policy. The zoning amendment is a subject of the quasi-judicial hearing today. Little project history. The first community meeting was held by the applicant in November of last year. It was deferred from the Municipal Planning Board by the applicant later that November. In January of this year, we had the second community meeting held by the applicant. January 19th, there was another meeting where the Municipal Planning Board recommended approval of the applications. On January 25th and 26th of this year, appeals were filed for the GMP and the zoning cases. February of this year, the City Council held the hearing on the GMP appeal and voted to uphold the MPB approval. In May, the quasi-judicial hearing was held for the zoning case, which is the subject of the hearing today. And on June 21st, the hearing officer recommended an order for the ZON case appeal. The existing zoning on this property, there actually is no zoning this property as currently existing. As proposed would be PD and PDAN. AN stands for Airport Noise Overlay. Here's an aerial photo of the site at the intersection of the 528 and 417. This is the framework PD plan as recommended for approval by the Municipal Planning Board. The colors are important here. The yellow represents essentially single family. The shaded green are wetland areas to be restored after the cleanup of the property. The darker green are parks. The orange is multifamily, and the red is retail. And there is an existing pond on the site that will remain. This is the phasing plan for the project. It will be basically done in 3 phases. And the phases also show where the major roads will be placed on the site. The quasi-judicial parties in this case from the petitioner were Mr. Sebastian, Ronald Camillo, and John Daly. They're residents from the surrounding area. The respondents and the applicants were Mockingbird Orlando, LLC, and Randy Fitzgerald, Esquire. And the other respondent, of course, is the City of Orlando, the City Planning Division. Petitioners raised several key concerns. 1, flooding and stormwater management on the site. Approval of the PD zoning is expressly conditioned on compliance with all regulations and requirements of the South Florida Water Management District and the federal agencies having jurisdiction over wetlands. So the area will be fully restored once cleanup is done on the site to manage all stormwater. The second concern was increased traffic. The council has a discretion, of course, to approve zoning even if the project results in increased traffic. Nonetheless, and particularly in this case, the developer and the city have collaborated to identify both on-site and off-site transportation improvement projects that will address the increased traffic resulting from this project. And the third, the potential dangers of developing on a former bombing range site with explosives and military debris. The owners agreed to remediate their former bombing range. The FDEP will oversee all of the owner's remediation efforts, and no permits will be issued until the FDEP certifies the remediation is complete to their satisfaction. Successful remediation of the former bombing range is preferred. The hearing officer made the following finding. Based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law, I recommend the City of Orlando Council deny the petitioner's petition and approve the owner's application for PD zoning in case ZON 2015 number 32 with all staff recommended conditions. The petitioner did not meet the burden of proof, nor did they demonstrate that the project is inconsistent with a state statute or city code. Uncontroverted evidence and expert testimony showed the owner's proposed zoning request is consistent with the surrounding area and shall comply with all city codes and regulations, Florida statutes, federal law, and all the regulations of each state and federal agency having jurisdiction over the owner's property. Under Section 2.209 of the City Code, when considering an order from the hearing officer, the council has no obligation to entertain further public comment, may ask questions of staff or the parties, may allow up to 10 minutes per party, but no evidence may be submitted at this time. You may either adopt with changes, direct staff to prepare revised RO, and finally, the council may not change the findings of fact made by the hearing officer without stating reasons for those changes. I would just say that the staff concurs with the hearing officer and recommends that you uphold the Municipal Planning Board's recommendation on this rezoning.
Questions for Dean? Okay, traditionally we have given 5 minutes per side. I have 2 appearance request cards from 2 of the 3 petitioners, Mr. Daly and Mr. Sebastian. Would you guys come to the podium? Is Mr. Camillo here? He's not. Right. Okay. Do you both want to speak? Yes, sir. Okay. And do you want? What I'm going to do is be fair and give both the 2 sides. Here, come on up. Come on up to the podium. Whatever I give you guys combined, I'm going to give to Randy equally. So do you each want 5 minutes, and then Randy will get 10, or would you like 2.5 and 2.5?
Do you have a preference, Frank? 3 and 3? How about 6 minutes total, Mayor? Does that work?
Good for you, Randy? Okay, let's give them each 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for allowing us to speak on this particular issue again. About 30 years ago, I took an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and faithfully discharge my duties. Very similar oath of office that you took, and I still fall under that oath of office. One of the things I've learned in my career is that what's legal isn't necessarily always what's the right thing to do, the ethical thing to do, or the moral thing to do. Based on the community's concerns, there are a few things I want us to consider before a decision on this matter. First and foremost is that there are a couple things that weren't actually conveyed in the last brief. The first issue is that our commissioner made a commitment to us, and he's publicly stated this, and it was in witness testimony, that he would set up a meeting between the resident representatives and the staff before actions were taken on this, and that never occurred. That's the first issue, and that's in the sworn witness statements at the hearing itself. The second thing is, Mr. Mayor, if you were to ask your staff if they had a clear definition of what adverse impact is, it was pretty clear from the actual hearing that there is not one in the city of Orlando, and that's concerning, particularly since when we asked the question about exploring all reasonable alternatives, the answer to that is that there are still alternatives that need to be considered that were not considered, which is a concern of ours as well. The last thing is that some of the concerns that were actually listed there on the PowerPoint missed a few key points. One is the fact that the neighborhood center is insufficient for 4,500 homes. That became clear during the expert witness testimony during the hearing. The fact that a park has been moved from this project to the Starwood project, impacting our direct neighborhoods, and the other issues were already addressed. So those two additional issues that were in the hearing, not additional facts, but actually represented in the hearing itself that weren't portrayed just now. 2010, our community was here accepting a proclamation from this board, this commission, for having a world-class community and being great collaborative partners with the city of Orlando, very much like the proclamation you read today. And we're looking for that same treatment today in dealing with this particular issue, and we feel like we've been disenfranchised in that regard. We're concerned about the integrity of process. There's certainly room to close the gap with our concerns and the applicant's desires. Give us a chance to close that gap. Send this back to the staff to close that gap to a situation that is amenable to the current residents and also a benefit to the applicant itself. Again, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. Appreciate your consideration. Commissioners, thank you.
Thank you. Just for the record, state your name and address, too.
My name is Frank Sebastian. I live at 8680 Warwick Shore Crossing in Orlando. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. When my fellow petitioners, Ron Camello and John Daly, and I began the process of contesting the decision of the Municipal Planning Board to approve applicant's zoning application regarding the approval of the Vista Park project, many of our neighbors who adamantly opposed the development wished us success, but said it would be a waste of time to appeal to the city to take a stand against a big developer. Having now completed the appeal process, I regret to say that they appear to have been right. The central issue of our appeal has always been that Vista Park, as it is currently planned, will have a massive adverse impact on the safety, quality of life, and property values of the residents of the surrounding neighborhoods. We explored this issue in great detail with Mr. Francis Flynn and Ms. Elizabeth Dang, the two city officials in charge of the Technical Review Committee at the quasi-judicial hearing, and their testimony was substantially as follows. The growth management plan requires sound judgment to properly implement. Both the letter and the spirit of the plan have to be considered. The GMP requires that the quality of life of existing residents and well-being of surrounding neighborhoods be considered as essential parts of the project review process. Vista Park, I think we can all agree, is a very large project. Both Mr. Flynn and Ms. Dang, of course, concurred with that and acknowledged that it would likely have major impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. Neither Mr. Flynn nor Ms. Dang have any experience dealing with community resistance to large developments, and this was their own testimony. They have zero experience dealing with large projects. Despite having no experience in this area, neither Mr. Flynn nor Ms. Dang could say if the TRC, the Technical Review Committee, spent any time at all looking into the potential adverse impacts of surrounding neighborhoods. The clear impression was that no time was spent considering citizens' issues, resident issues. While it was evident that many meetings had occurred between the city and the applicant over the past 2 years, the city had not met with residents even once. Yet when asked if the city was required to be impartial in its dealings with applicants and petitioners, Mr. Flynn said that the city was required to be impartial. After stating that the TRC had no guidelines in place to explore adverse impacts and had made no effort to ascertain how the surrounding neighborhoods would be impacted, Ms. Dang was asked what she thought about the hundreds of signatures of residents on the petitions opposing the development that had been submitted to the city. Her response was, "They'll get used to it." Impartial indeed. Finally, the recommended order comes down in favor of the applicant. We are not exactly shocked by the decision, but after all of the testimony about the way the city failed to even try to address adverse impacts on surrounding neighborhoods, do you know what the RO said about handling of adverse impacts? Nothing, absolutely nothing, not a word, not a mention. Somehow when it comes to individual rights against mighty developers, the city goes deaf. In closing, petitioners have never suggested that Vista Park should not be built, but we do have significant concerns about its proposed design. It is very possible that these concerns could have been dealt with long ago had the city been an impartial arbiter in bringing the parties together. The applicant may have given up some profit and the residents would have accepted a certain loss of their quality of life, but the city made no effort to play a constructive role and showed no concern for the individual rights, including property rights of its citizens. As far as the city beautiful is concerned, it seems like the old adage, you can't beat City Hall, has never been more true. At this final stage in the zoning approval process, we again ask the City Council to refrain from granting approval and to send the application back to the TRC with instructions that they evaluate the adverse impact of Vista Park on local neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Fitzgerald, you have 6 minutes.
Mayor, City Council, people. Miranda Fitzgerald, Lowndes, Doster, Cantor, and Reed Law Firm, representing Mockingbird LLC, Mockingbird Orlando LLC. We agree with the recommended order. I will tell you the hearing that we had lasted an entire day. Evidence on every single issue was presented. The hearing officer ruled based on your comp plan and based on the codes and our very strong commitment that we will be good neighbors. We will work with the adjoining property owners, and these will become seamless communities. This city is used to having adjacencies where new development is adjacent to existing development. It happens all the time. And so I just want to assure you that we have compromised along the way. We were very open, very engaged in the process. There were, in addition to the 2 community meetings, we held separate meetings with a small delegation of the adjoining owners, reached some compromises as a result of those discussions, compromised at the hearing, at the quasi-judicial hearing, to increase the amount of commercial use in this project, which was one of the big concerns that they had. And in point of fact, that was the issue that the 2 MPB members who voted against approval were concerned about. They didn't think there was enough retail or commercial in this site. So we increased from what was proposed initially as a 20,000 square foot figure up to a maximum of 80,000 square feet. So we feel like we really have made the commitments that are needed under the city code, and we, again, I can't say strongly enough, we fully intend to comply with code and to be good neighbors and to make our community adjacent to the existing communities seamless and be good neighbors. And we would appreciate your approval of the recommended order as written. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anybody have questions or anything again for Dean? Otherwise, Commissioner Gray?
Yeah, if I could, thank you, Mayor, very much. It's always tough when you have neighbors come and fight through the process. That's never easy, and I know John and Frank both are not they didn't just drop in off a spaceship. They're engaged in the community, so I know they care. But a couple of things that were stated that I just want to make sure that we're together on. As Randy said, we had 4 community meetings, and I attended all 4 of those. 2 were at large. Everybody in the community could certainly attend, and they did. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but it had to be 150 plus or minus. And we also had 2 focus groups. John and Frank were there along with some other neighbors to try to improve this. And so the notion that we didn't engage with the community, I think, is erroneous. We did. It was a tough issue, but I think the developers have proved they were trying to be good neighbors, and we've discussed that, and I'll certainly discuss more if anybody wants to. A couple of things I want to clear up. The notion of meeting with the neighbors, I was fully prepared, but as we know, and I've stated to Frank and to John, once an appeal is filed, we're asked not to engage. And I was fully engaged until the appeal was filed, and at that point, I had to drop out. So I had no further discussions with the neighbors, even though I would have liked to, but when the appeal was filed, and you guys knew once the appeal was filed, that was it for me. So I couldn't engage. The second thing that's kind of crept out there, and I just want to put it on for the record, because I don't know the origin of it, but let's just deal with it. I've had several neighbors approach me and say, Jim, you're supporting this because you have a financial interest. You're a real estate guy, so you have an interest. Let me set the record straight so everybody knows. I've never had a financial interest. I don't have one now, and I will not have a financial interest in this project. So just wanted to clear that up. But in summary, the reason I support this is look, the neighbors have argued that it wasn't compatible. And I've said, well, great, show us something. And so many times people come here and say things aren't compatible, but they don't back it up with any facts. And so I've heard it's going to have a bad impact on traffic. The neighbors could have gotten together and showed us how that was true, but they didn't. We talked about drainage when we've talked about the cleanup. Just a lot of talk and no details to support their position. I think the hearing officer has confirmed that it's just an emotional no growth. And look, our planning department's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I think the results stand for themselves. The southeast part of town is the fastest growing part of town. And there's a reason. People want to be there. If they didn't, they wouldn't be buying homes and moving their business there. So I think we need to give our planning department some credit, because whatever they're doing in the grand scheme of things, it appears to be working, because the market is saying we want to be in southeast Florida, or southeast Orlando, excuse me. And if you don't believe that, look at the permits that are pulled. I've said it before, roughly every month, 1 in 3 building permits is coming out of southeast Orlando. So people want to be there, and if it was a total mess, as the neighbors say, I think the market would recognize that and quit moving there, but they haven't so far. So long-winded response, but to say, Mayor and fellow council members, I am convinced that the neighbors were heard. I know they have some emotional objections, but I don't see any basis in fact why this development will not be accretive to the neighborhood. So I support the officers' denial of their appeal.
Okay, so that's a motion to adopt.
It is.
The recommended order.
It is, sir, yes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the motion carries. All right, that brings us back to hearings, ordinances on first read, number 1. Commissioner Gray has already made a motion on that. Somebody seconded it, and I don't remember who that was.
That was your red tie man.
The red tie man made the second. Is there anybody from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. I believe that concludes all of the official business of the Orlando City Council for today. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, sir. While we're still live, there was oversight during my presentation that I think is very important if I can get the message out. I know that there had been some concern from Senator Nelson and Senator Rubio regarding Windsor Cove. Well, I've been working with HUD, and there will be a community meeting on August the 3rd from 6 to 8 at the Northwest Center at 3955 W.D. Judge Drive here in Orlando. And we'll have the HUD department coming from Washington, Jacksonville, and Tampa, speaking with the residents regarding the tenants' concern and some of the physical recent inspections. So I wanted to make sure that the community knew that we here at the city, along with HUD, was addressing the needs over and concerns over at Windsor Cove on August the 3rd at 6 o'clock at the Northwest Center.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Then that concludes the official business of the Orlando City Council.